Oh, beautiful day here in Dungarvan. I'd actually prefer to be out doing the outside of the boat, but it's still probably a little bit early to do that. So that's going to be like a June, July, August or even May. So we'll see how we get on with that. But today I'm going to put down the T-sections and the little new pieces I've made all around to box out around the floors of the tank. And the whole floor of the aft cabin should be done by this evening, or at least welded in place or tacked in place, so we can actually get on with painting it this week, and that'll give us floors back in here, and then we can move on. So I'll just show you what I'm going to do today. So this is looking at it sideways, so I'm just going to show you this little plan here. So originally we had the T-sections that would have run the full length of the floors. Now they stop short here because of the waste tanks that are going to be going in there, so that'll all be beefed up in time. So here's the little plan I've done in CAD. I'll just zoom in it. So you can see that. So you can see each of the boxes, it stops around the lids, and these pieces here are 40mm angle iron, and I've them cut and notched. So there's a whole heap of them here, and there's an extra one then. So this is the back of the boat. I'll just turn this. So there's the stern, so that's the rudder stem, and there'll be another piece just behind it. And remember, where we have the steering arm in here, I'll be cutting out there, and I'll still be, remember this is in under the swim deck at the back, so essentially I won't need it. I'll be able to catch all this to floor it and have hatches and all of those things that we'll need down the line. So that's what I'm going to do today. So I have to clean, I'm going to clean everything here first, vacuum it all, get all the dust out of the way, give the tanks just a quick mop on top, and remove the plastics then, because I need to get at the inside of the tank to set a dimension. And then myself and Adam are going to clamp them in place and just put a quick tack in them. Then I'll cover over the floors again, or over these holes again, with the same plastic, and then I'll be able to weld them in fully. It's a kind of a two-stage process, but it's the only way I can do it without having a whole pile of dust and welding sparks and whatnot go down into the tanks underneath, which are nice and clean. So I want to try and keep them clean. So I've all these cleaned up, as you can see here, and we'll be removing the blue bits of plastic. I've had them here with me, and we're going to actually tack down those 4 bars first, and then put in all the pieces either side. So we'll just run a little time lapse on that and see how we get on. So myself and Adam have 4 of the main beams in, and all of the cross pieces now in either side, and you can see how it works there with the spacing left for the manholes. We've just covered up the rest of them, and we also went back in over where the rudder will be, and that's welded to the back wall, and it's on T-section, so that's self-supporting there. Of course I have a little chunk to take out there, and I'll be bringing a leg up off the other beam underneath, so we'll do that as well. And then this is a short piece then from the stringer on the transom back into where it meets, just a little plate there. You can see it just before at the end of the timber there. So a lot of progress made. It's been very slow just getting it right, but tack it in and then go back and weld it but they're done. The floors are technically down, they're solid. I have the same problem here then as well on the last little ones there that extend back to where the tanks are going to be in here. So we'll have 2 tanks, so I'll just show you that one there. So essentially, I'll get to line up the camera right here. So essentially the tank will be up just in under that, across and down, and the whole way back, and a bit this side as well. It'll come out to nearly here. So and the spacing there with this line here. So these ones then also have to have this little piece taken, just a little skim along there, just so that when that goes down it becomes flush, and this is all flush here. So then I can weld them in and they'll be good and strong. So these ones, obviously the center one will be have a bolted bracket either side of it, and it'll bolt on to another one on this side. So that'll be filled in, and the same with this one here, but only after the tanks are in. I'll put the bracketry in before we paint, obviously, but those 2 can be removable because otherwise I can't get the tanks in, and just for a general access. But I will need the floor there because the steps will come down in through it. So that's roughly where we are. So I've had another successful day. All the floor elements are now in place, everything lined up perfectly. So there's a couple of last little tiny bits to do, which I'll show you. So what I've just done here at the back is, if you remember rightly, this is where the steering ram is going to be mounted, and of course the floor came right over it. So you can just see there how level it is. It's perfect. I'll lose that, and what I've done is I've stayed it off the ground and teed it into this side, and it's also teed across to the other side, and that's all left clear then, and then I can floor in the back of it. I will be putting another piece in at the back over the thruster. I actually need to just mount the thruster and see how much clearance I have, so I'll be doing that as well. That's one more job to do. So I'm nearly done here for the day, but one thing I did do is, as you can see, on the back of each of the frames we had a 60 by 5 mil piece. This piece here was a stiffening. Now we used those in the tanks themselves, and then we added the ones at the back, if you remember rightly. But these bits got cut out to make space so that at least I could. So this is now not reinforced anymore like the rest of the hull is. So I'm literally going to just mount in underneath a small piece of what actually came out of there, the 60 by, I actually have it, it's dirty and it's rotten, I'll tidy it all up, and mount it up underneath the T-section and just weld it along the line there, and that gives me back my stability in the frames. So I have 4 of those to do. I have them in the garage, and I'm going to tidy those up, and I'll hopefully weld these tonight. There's a storm coming in again tonight, so that's me going to be kept out of here for another however long, we'll see. But I'm thrilled now. The floor is absolutely solid. It literally could be sheeted now if just painted, other than the manholes obviously, but we'll deal with it all. But every single piece of it is now welded in and welded down and completely level. The joys of beautiful soft mild weather Ireland, and lots of rain as usual. As you can see, everything is soaked and it's raining away here. So myself and Adam are here. It's absolutely lashing rain outside, and there's not a whole lot we can do with the boat. But one thing we do have coming up is Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day is on the 17th of March, and our little town here, because we do actually supply lighting and sound and equipment, so we've actually got a bit of work to do for a change, which is great. And we're making these little boxes to house some lights out in looking up at buildings and stuff like that. We'll actually feature them in the videos down the road. So myself and Adam are going to spend the morning. We've about 5 big boxes and 9 smaller boxes to make, that we're going to mount on poles and bits and pieces all over. So we're just going to cut out a kind of a jig made to run the saw, and we're going to try and rip through as many of these sheets and make the parts that we need. Now what I want to do is, I have a tape measure. I'm just going to put a little dot in this, just a little mark. And it is bang on.
Now, what do you want me to do?
So you're this side. So I get to here, everything stays fine. Then you're holding this piece, 2 hands.
Right.
So start that somewhat. Myself and the lads, literally in a few hours, have made all those boxes. So there's 7 of the big ones and 10 of the little half-size ones, all ripped out of half mil, just cheap ply, and they're going to get painted now before they go out on the streets of Dungarvan to turn it all green. To do, I'll just put one of these on film and then I'll show you the next bit I'm going to do, which is extending some floor girders in and around at the very back of the transom. So that's the end of the floors done, just as far as the back transom, all the way across, and we have the little piece in there, and I have my couple of stiffener pieces gone in there which I'll tidy up. So the next thing I want to show you, this is going to be a bit of fun. So I hope you can all hear me. I'm going to get close to the microphone because it's absolutely blowing a gale outside and the canvases and the back door are flapping and all the rest of it. So here you have a stringer, it's going along there, you just see it under the floor beam, and it goes in there, and that's actually in under the back bulkhead of the engine room, which is next door, and we're in the back of the aft cabin. So that space there directly in front of me, and I'll draw it on the screen as best I can. Just put in my finger. So essentially just underneath these points here, so down here, across, back up, across, are going to be 2 tanks, one either side, so it's the same thing on both sides, and they're going to sit across. They're 1100 millimeters wide, they're 200 or 350 litres each, black water tanks, which I will be getting in the UK when I can sort out Brexit. So the problem I have here now, and this is where we're kind of stepping away from the plan, we call it, because the stringer that's there is technically about 30 millimeters too high and I want to have something level going across it. So in order to do that, I'm going to cut it out, which will weaken the boat, and then I'll beef it up with angle iron to give it its strength again, so that the strength will come back into it. Plus on top of it will be welded another frame, so when they're all married together I'll still have the same height of the stringer. All I'm doing is replacing it with an angle iron frame, which will be a base slightly bigger than the dimensions of the tank, that will sit along the line of where the yellow level is, and that will allow me to sneak those in both sides, because technically speaking the back of the saloon above is that wall there, so this really is no man's land unless you're going to put cupboards or something in there. But in this corner here there's a full heads and shower going in, full bathroom, and on the other side the bed, so there won't be cupboards there. So what I'm trying to do with the boat here at the moment is literally maximize every square inch of usable space that I have. So far we've managed in this room alone, in the cabin, we've managed to get 1500 litres under the floor, where in a space that I wasn't actually going to use. I didn't really nothing planned for there. So it's all about trying to maximize the amount of space without taking from the actual living area in the boat. So this is where you sort of break out of what would be standard. It'd be so easy to just go and do, just build it, you know, keep it simple. But for a long range boat that I want this to be, we do need to get maximum of usage out of every single square inch on the boat. Just get my leg out of there now. So this is what I'm going to plasma out of it. Cut this down here, cut down there, and take this out of it one way or the other. And then I'll trim in a piece of angle iron that just gets shallower here, and then I have the full height of it there, and then I'll join this bit to this bit, and then when the other frame goes on top of it, it will beef it up as well. And then from here back to here, I'll run along here, I'll run a stiffening piece on this as well, so the whole thing becomes one huge big lump instead of just having this. And also 400 should be out here. Just as a guide for the plasma torch. Now obviously I won't be cutting into the side of the clamp. I want to go down here first and across, and then I can do the last little bit by freehand. Just make my life a little easier. So that's the two of those. So I'm going to go chopping up angular iron now to make the little frames that will go in there, and the battery's about to die on this camera. So folks, I got quite a bit done today, I have to say, and I'll just do a little bit thingy. Lashing rain outside. We actually had hailstones at one stage in the middle of March. So folks, I'll wrap this one up, and thanks you everyone for watching the channel and following along on our progress. Remember, there's no instructions on this boat. There's absolutely none. The instructions I got, we built, that was 12 years ago. Now it's a case of put everything where we want to and make it work as best as possible and have as maximum amount of room that we can have. So anyway, thank you folks.